All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Unlike the previous session, I mean, there's absolutely no secret about or mystery about who I represent. I represent Infosys Technologies, and I wear it on my sleeve or pretty close to that. I've been with Infosys for the last 15 years, and for the last decade or so, managing engagements in the financial services in London, New York, and the Middle East. And for those of you who have not heard of us, we do a pretty hefty chunk of change from the banking, financial services, and insurance sectors. A quarter of that is consulting, and about half of that is AD&M. Most importantly, we work with a lot of the larger firms in the United States, as well as outside in Europe and Asia. So net of it is, this presentation is really a distillation of whatever we've been hearing on the street for the last 12 months or so. And as you can see, we cut a fairly wide subsection of the IT and business and operations part of the financial sector in our relationships. And so what we're trying to do here is to abstract that into the presentation. Now, in terms of what we have been hearing over the last few months, I mean, unless you've been living under a fairly thick rock and in addition have missed David's session earlier today, you'll know that the central fact of our times is the recession that we're going through. So I'm not going to talk to you about the causes and the consequences of this in any great detail. Obviously, we know that United States is or has been at the epicenter of this. We are also aware that the recession is expected to bottom out by the end of the year. David's caveats taken into consideration, but that economies in Europe and Asia are probably going to fight the recession through most of 2010. But the more and that the fact that the impact in the financial sector has been brutal across sectors, whether we're talking about the capital markets, the investment banks, the broker dealers, the asset managers, obviously the mortgage lenders, the retail banks, and the hedge fund industry and payments and cards as well. But then, shifting focus to something that's closer home, I wanted to spend a minute or two on what that's meant for IT spending across sectors. And we've found that while there's a secular decline in IT spend, it's probably useful to look at it sector by sector, both in terms of what's happened in 2009, what's likely to happen in 2010, and in terms of the long-term potential for spend in that sector. You'll notice that it's a bit and this chart and the chart in the next couple of slides are from a March 2009 Tower Group report, and I'm going to talk about in a minute what our own the Infosys when as I said, we work with 30 or 40 large players in these sectors, and what our informal polling has shown us. But the Tower Group report of March shows that in the banking sector, there's actually going to be, it's going to remain pretty flat through this year, and then obviously there's going to be a fairly large decline in, the numbers really show about a 10% decline in securities and investment IT spend, and a similar decline in insurance in 2009. However, an informal polling of our relationships around these sectors show that actually there are a significant number of the larger firms that have been impacted pretty much far more than that. We're talking 15-20% declines in spend. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Obviously, when you're talking, even within a sector, if you take sizes of the firms, and obviously it's a subsection that we are talking to. The other thing is that CIOs seem to have made budgets and torn them up a couple of times this year already, because it's really been the kind of year where we're told that, you know, this